Okay, I want to go over the concept of psychedelic medicine. So the idea that the psychedelic experience or the experiential quality of an experience can be therapeutic is a very disruptive idea. So this really runs counter to a lot of the traditional paradigm that's put forth by the pharmaceutical industry. So when you look at medicines like ketamine or even low-dose LSD or ecstasy, magic mushrooms, this sort of thing, they all fall under the larger umbrella of psychedelic medicine. Now, only one of those is currently legally available, and that's ketamine. So that's what we offer at Klarisana. So I want to talk a little bit about this concept. There are basically two schools of thought as far as how ketamine works. Both schools of thought do believe that there's a biochemical component to it. There's various theories about what it does with BDNF and AMPA receptors and all this kind of thing, but basically the one school of thought feels that that's all there is. It's purely a biochemical reaction. If you hit the right receptors, you can cause a change in the patient's mood or outlook on life and all this kind of stuff. So, and that's great. We believe that as well, but there are a number of folks, ourselves included, who feel that the experiential quality of a ketamine infusion, if you want to call it the psychedelic aspect, the alterations in perception and vision and sounds and all this kind of stuff, and more importantly, just the alteration in your thought paradigms that are created under the influence of a ketamine infusion are not side effects. They are not adverse reactions. They're not something that needs to be gotten rid of. So this is really the crux of the argument when you look at pharmaceutical companies are trying to come up with a nasal spray version of ketamine or whatnot to say that, hey, we don't need to have that experiential quality, and that's a side effect. Now, we disagree with that, and I'm going to try to give you a little analogy to sort of give you an idea of where we're coming from with that. So, what we're going to show you is, I'm going to show you a picture of a butterfly. So take a look at this butterfly and imagine that the butterfly, the image that you're seeing is your paradigm. So let's say you've had an experience of psychological trauma in the past, or whatever the case may be. You basically have a paradigm in which you view the world, and that in this analogy is represented by this butterfly. So take a look at the butterfly, kind of take it in, look at its colors and whatnot, and just sort of think about that for a minute. Now, if we want to just go with the biochemical aspect, we can give you a medicine like an SSRI or a tricyclic antidepressant or monoamine oxidase inhibitor or whatnot, and we can change the color, so to speak, right? We can change a little bit of perception. We can turn the butterfly blue, for instance, or if we give a different medication, to run with this analogy, we can turn the butterfly green, but ultimately you're still seeing the butterfly, right? All we've done is really change the color, sort of change the way you're seeing it. But that is not really what a lot of patients need. What a lot of folks really are looking for is a fundamental change in their paradigm of how they view their context and their issue and their life and whatnot. They want to have a transformative experience. So let's take another look at the butterfly right now. So if we provide you with ketamine, when you start having the experiential qualities of ketamine, when you start having the alterations in perception, you see the world differently. It's not just simply that it changes the way you see things visually, the way you hear things from an auditory standpoint. The patients report that there's actually a fundamental change in the perspective of how they view themselves in the world, the way they view a lot of things. A lot of patients describe it in a very spiritual experience and a very transpersonal experience, we call it. So that being said, let's take another look at the butterfly, right? So imagine we've given you ketamine, you're having this transformative, transpersonal experience. And now we're going to look closer. Let's take a look at the wing of the butterfly. Can you see that the image is on this butterfly's wing has basically the head of a dog, right? So you see the eyes, you see the snout, you see it's like basically the profile of a dog. So are you with me? You seeing where that's at? So this is the California dog-faced butterfly. It's the state butterfly of California for those of you who are interested. But in any case, you can kind of see how there's on the wing of the butterfly the image of a dog. Now, let's back up and let's take another look at the butterfly in general, the original picture that I showed you. Try as hard as you can now. Is it possible for you to not see the butterfly, the dog's head on the butterfly? Can you not see it? Now that I've shown it to you, can you ever not see that? So that is the principle of psychedelic medicine. That is what we're trying to achieve with ketamine. We call that, when we're dosing our ketamine, we call that the psychotropic therapeutic response. That is the ideal optimum dose for a patient at which they have the maximum transpersonal experience. And the thing is that dose is very unique and very individualized for each person. It's not necessarily a weight-based dose. That's where this is so radically different than what is traditionally thought of in medicine. Everyone says, what's the weight-based dose? How many milligrams per kilogram do you need to give to achieve that PTR that we call it? It doesn't work that way. It's very individualized. That's why our practitioners take time with the patients and work with them after each infusion to try to figure out where is that PTR for them. Usually the doses that we're talking about are significantly higher than those clinics, those institutions that subscribe purely to the biochemical concept of how ketamine works. The original idea was to give 0.5 milligrams per kilogram of ketamine over 40 minutes. That was just kind of made up at Yale, purely arbitrary, has not been validated, and that really only addresses the biochemical aspect of it. As I've said multiple times in our videos, we give 1 milligram per kilogram with a maximum of 60 on the first infusion, and then we ramp up from there. So a lot of our patients get 100, 150, sometimes even 200 milligrams of ketamine over an hour. But the thing is, we've worked into that slowly. We get to know the patient, how they're responding, see what their metabolism is, and work with them to achieve that ideal state. Because our goal is, we want people to see the dog on the butterfly. So, I don't feel that you can get that with a lower dose. So in any case, that is the crux of psychedelic medicine. That's what we're trying to accomplish at Klarisana. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. Feel free to check out the rest of our website and some of our other videos to learn more about our theory on how ketamine works and basically how operationally things work at Klarisana. So thanks very much for your time.